All right. And I think we should be good to go now. Yep, there we go. Welcome, everybody. Uh, so this is Secular Sekai with Tridents Against Tyrants. And we are back again for another stream in support of Ukraine. As you can see, uh, since our last, yep, since our last stream, there we go, we did see a withdrawal made from Anton's end to support the 110th Mechanized Brigade. And so the money we had raised has been withdrawn in order to purchase more drones. Let me, you know what? Hold on one sec. Let me take a look at the monobank. And I always put that in the description of the videos so you can click and see where we're at. So we are at 28 of 110 drones purchased. So altogether, we have assisted with 28 FPV drones, plus any other initiatives that we've assisted with or helped with donations toward. And a few other things that are in the works right now that I can update you all about. The excuse me. Uh, the channel is currently under review to hopefully get monetization on YouTube, which would be very helpful. Just to provide some more options for ways for donations to be done and for funds to be given to soldiers or to the channel, either or both. Until we have another alternative like Buy Me a Coffee, or if we do start using something like Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee again, primarily because the Ukrainian options unfortunately don't function well for foreigners outside of Ukraine, I've found so far. But unless something changes on that front, if the channel gets monetized, the focus will still just be those donations being set up to where they can be transferred to soldiers. If the, but because of how YouTube works with, monetization with super chats and stuff like that, if that does happen, then I'll just be eating the cost, I guess. So if it ends up being prohibitively expensive, and because I want to make sure that every penny of whatever someone gives gets to where it's supposed to go. So I'll cover the extra costs. If it gets too expensive, I will let everyone know, and we'll evaluate from there where we go. But that's in the works. And I have been drowning in work and a ton of other projects related to assisting Ukraine and related to assisting friends in a few other countries. So apologies for uploads. We're still doing the live streams, of course, and doing my best to stay consistent every weekend. So we have this stream at a predictable time. Sometimes I'm able to keep the same time, sometimes not. But we do have content for video uploads. There's plenty of stuff that needs to be put up on the channel. So apologies and thank you for being patient with that. Um, I have a few that are short videos that I'm going to start putting up. So just to give you an idea of what you're going to see, two things are interviews with soldiers that I just need to make sure to edit and make sure that the unit associated with those soldiers, is gives the final okay on the interviews after they've been edited. Make sure that for OPSEC, all of that is up to their standard. The other is Oh, and the other is primarily going to be cultural performances, primarily songs sung by pretty well-known Ukrainian singers who are also part of the military, part of the army. Um, and I'll be putting those up soon, but those will be posted with permission from the performers who want it to be shared far and wide. So expect to see that pretty soon. Those are probably going to go up first before the interviews, only because I need to do editing. And that reminds me, one other very important thing. Um, Tridents Against Tyrants is still a small channel, and I have to juggle it with many other things, including Ukraine support initiatives that aren't fundraising related, but instead are like material support or basically um, other initiatives that I'm helping out with uh, off of YouTube. So putting a team together really, really would help. So we are looking for a video editor. Because I can do some of the editing myself, but it really just comes down to time. Um, I I need a team of some sort because my time is like it just is not it's not what it used to be. I've got too many things I have to do, too many responsibilities right now. So yeah, if you are, or anyone you know might be interested, feel free to drop a message in the comments or go ahead and shoot an email over to tridentsagainsttyrants@gmail.com. And I'd love to hear from all of you. All right. Thanks, everyone. And with all of that out of the way, let's. Uh, all right. Hold on. Uh, okay. Well, let's see. The mic is far away, you say? I don't know why. Sorry. I just went on a tirade. I just started talking a whole lot. But I'm noticing now that people are saying that the mic is really far away. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Um. Okay. That's weird. I don't know why it should be so low because hold on. One, two. Okay, hold on. Might be coming from the wrong source for some reason, which is annoying. Mm, hello. No, that's the thing. That's really weird. Okay. Hello, 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 hello. Nope, that shouldn't be affecting anything. So I see the issue. Hold on, but I don't know why it's acting up. Let's test this. Can you hear me a little bit better now? How about now? Okay, I see what the issue is, and I don't know why my computer is acting that way because instead of my headphone mic, it's going through just my regular laptop mic. But that doesn't make sense because it specifically is set to where it should be getting my uh, my headphone mic instead of my laptop mic. So it seems to be acting up in some odd way with an obscure bug. Let me check audio on these headphones real fast. Oh no. Oh no. I think my headphones might just be dead or might have gone out because they're not working at all. That is that's a problem. Anyway, if you couldn't hear me very well because my volume was really, really low, basically, I was recapping a couple of things. It's been a really busy week. I've had a lot of things on and off YouTube that I've had to take care of. We've got new videos coming. Apologies for them not getting up sooner. Keep an eye out for some interviews once they're edited, and for some uh, videos of cultural performances, music performances from well-known Ukrainian musicians who are also soldiers, combat soldiers in the military. Um, and finally, Tridents Against Tyrants a is looking for an editor, so drop information in the chat or feel free to email at tridentsagainsttyrants@gmail.com. I'll put it in the chat because we are really needing an editor or another person to assist with the channel because it is still small and I have been drowning in things I need to do. So I really want us to keep the quality of the channel up, and to do that, I need a team of some sort put together. Anna helps a lot with moderation, but I really need I really just need a team together who we can collaborate on videos with one another, as well as fundraising and other things. But yeah, I'll put that in the description. And now let's go ahead and get started. All right, all right. So here's how we're gonna do this. Since my microphone that I usually use and my headphones are both not working, we're just gonna roll with the punches and make it work like this for this stream. Next time I'll probably be using my better quality mic and have that set up before the stream. And I guess I'm just gonna have a new headset, which is really annoying because I like this one, and I just don't want to deal with paying for a new one. But eh, that's life. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the news. Because of the audio issues, we probably won't be doing any videos this stream either, like Juzzy or anything else like that. Um, Primarily because I won't be able to hear it and talk to you at the same time. Well, yeah, we'll just end up with a noise pollution. So we'll just go over articles for this for this particular stream. Oh, hold on. Let me take that first. No. Oh no, is this going to put off the article? No, it's not. In fact, the exact opposite. I'm able to see it because of my plugin. This is a very useful plugin, the reader mode that I use. Love it so much. Okay. All right. Excuse me. Really hope I'm not too sick. All right, here we go. First article. And I'm putting the link into the chat. All right. Oh, and yeah, definitely please share the stream um, so that people know that we are currently live. All right. So, from the Kiev Independent, don't overreact. Oreshnik missile isn't as new as Russia claims, experts say. Russian President Vladimir Putin on November 21st announced his country had launched a new type of missile in an attack on Ukraine, a demonstration of military might meant to deter Kiev's allies from further support against his full-scale invasion. There are currently no ways of countering this weapon. The missiles attack targets at a speed of Mach 10, that's 2.5 to 3 kilometers per second, he said. We are ready for any developments. If anyone still doubts this, they shouldn't. There will always be a response. Putin said the new missile was called Oreshnik, but analysts and officials have since questioned the novelty of the weapon as well as how effective it could be to prevent Allies' support of Ukraine. And I love that this is part of the article. WTF is wrong with Russia. What is the Oreshnik missile? According to Putin, Oreshnik, which means hazel in English, is a new invention that Western air defense systems would not be able to intercept. The Oreshnik is designed to carry nuclear weapons. However, Putin said it was not armed with a nuclear warhead during this attack. In combat conditions, a test was carried out of one of the latest Russian intermediate range missile systems, in this case with a non nuclear hypersonic version of a ballistic missile, he said in a live speech on November 21st. The Oreshnik described by Putin is so new that barely anything is known about it other than what he claimed during his speech. The reality, however, appears to be slightly different. I'd be extremely shocked if this missile system had more than 10% new parts, Fabian Hoffman, a defense expert and doctoral research fellow at the University of Oslo, told the Kiev Independent. I think basically they just took apart the RS-26 or just cannibalized it
and then put together this new missile with a couple of upgrades and a new paint job. The RS-26 Hoffman referred to is the RS-26 Rubeж. Oh, Hoffman refers to is the RS-26 Rubeж, of which quite a bit is known. First produced in 2011 and successfully tested in 2012, the Rubeж is a 36,000 kilogram nuclear-capable intermediate-range ballistic missile (IRBM) with a known range of 5,800 kilometers. It is declared most, but undemonstrated. Its declared but undemonstrated range of 6,000 kilometers would only just nudge it into the category of an intercontinental ballistic missile. Its development and deployment was actually halted in 2018 in favor of the Avangard hypersonic glide. The Rubeж is equipped with an MIRV payload, which stands for Multiple Independent Re-Entry Vehicles, which can be seen in videos of the attack on Dnipro. So basically, for anyone who hasn't heard, this intermediate range ICBM or IRBM was launched during the latest missile attack on Ukraine, and it wasn't holding a nuclear payload or anything. Basically, Russia just wanted to demonstrate that they can launch a missile and they could make it nuclear if they wanted to. But yeah, this. I mean, this is like them trying to demonstrate that a tactical nuke scenario is still in the cards. But no one has doubted that they're capable of launching a missile. It's just whether or not they actually would do it. And yeah, I still don't think they would. And even so, the economic fallout has been bad, but it would be even worse for Russia if they did such a thing. So I don't see them. Out of everybody, everyone's concerned about that, but Ukrainians are the most concerned. So uh, I'm not going to play games. It's a scary situation, especially if it would be done with something that cannot um, be intercepted or stopped by Ukrainian missile defense systems in time. Even if it were, of course, there would still be fallout if something were intercepted, and it would be fallout over Europe and or Russia. So at the end of the day, Ukrainians I've spoken to, and of course the Ukrainian government and military, do not seem convinced that Russia would actually do it. And there isn't much of a reason. Here's the thing. Any area that Russia irradiates is an area that Russia has to deal with and that will damage the resources, the land, and the military bases they want to have in Ukraine, in the occupied territories. So at the end of the day, it's just the same thing, saber rattling. It would make zero logical sense for Russia to do this, but it is the biggest incentive ever for Ukraine to either get guarantees about joining NATO, or, if that's not possible, to get nuclear weapons again. Because that's, mutually assured destruction. That is how you get a bully with a nuclear weapon to stop. Because that's one thing that Russia doesn't want to see. They don't want to see a nuke, tactical or otherwise, be used against them in response to what they might do. So, yeah. And of course, no one wants to see the human species go extinct. That's another big factor, of course. So, basically, from my point of view, it's just more saber rattling. It's a stunt. It's a way to try to scare people out of supporting Ukraine, but I know that everyone here knows better than that. All right. In any case, let's see here. Footage shows multiple projectiles hitting the ground, but without the large explosions normally associated with conventional missiles or payloads, suggesting it was carrying essentially a dummy warhead. Oh, so you see, and I mean, they did do a recent barrage of missile strikes across Ukraine, but this one didn't even have a conventional missile payload, it looks like. It was just a dummy warhead. It was a dud. It was just launched as a way to try to scare people. It's terrorism. In the way that Iran wants to use nuclear weapons to terrorize other countries, in the way that North Korea does use nuclear weapons to terrorize other countries, like Japan when they fire, dud missiles, quote unquote test missiles over the Sea of Japan or over, one of the islands themselves. And now Russia wanting to use their nukes to terrorize Ukraine and the rest of Europe and the rest of the world. It's as simple as that. It's just terrorism. Um, State level, international terrorism. On November 22nd, HUR, the National Intelligence Agency of Ukraine, provided further details of Oreshnik, claiming it is actually just a different name for a previously known missile called Kedr. Mitch Ashdown says it can be intercepted before it is launched. Yeah. And that's another thing. Accurate information versus misinformation, because you have some news outlets saying this is a hypersonic missile and others saying no, it's not a hypersonic missile. So you have a lot of people, with concerns about that. But again, I mean, it is still an important factor to keep in mind. But regardless of whether a nuclear weapon could be intercepted, it would still be disastrous either way. That's why I'm saying the Kremlin is aware of this. They're not stupid, but they also see that with things like election results around the world, with things like financial investment and direct support for Ukraine, they don't need to launch a nuke. They just have to use fear to control and manipulate and influence others within their country and outside their country, all around the world. It's as simple as that. So, I mean, right now, the only nuke going off is the nuke in everyone's imaginations. And than that's doing more damage than anything else. Um, yeah, basically. All right. The missile that struck Dnipro was equipped with 6 warheads, each containing 6 submunitions, and reached speeds exceeding Mach 11, around 13,500 kilometers per hour. As it descended, Hur added, I think it's really important that we don't overreact, Hoffman said, adding the missile itself isn't anything particularly new, despite what Putin said on November 21st. I like his, quote, hypersonic comment. Of course, he had to put that in, but every medium-range ballistic missile will reach hypersonic velocity at one point, so this is just nothing, he adds. A U.S. official speaking on condition of anonymity echoed the sentiment, telling that Kiev Independent that while we take all threats against Ukraine seriously, it is important to keep a few key facts in mind. Ukraine has withstood countless attacks from Russia, including from missiles with significantly larger warheads than this weapon. Let me be clear. Russia may be seeking to use this capability to try to intimidate Ukraine and its supporters or generate attention in the information space, but it will not be a game changer in this conflict. What is potentially new is the global geopolitical situation, the level of tension, and the threats of escalation. All right, we still have more of this article, but yeah, in a nutshell, let's get the answer to this. What is Oreshnik? Uh, what Oreshnik? Oreshnik says what the deployment of the Oreshnik is meant to achieve. The deployment of the missile came shortly after Russia adopted changes to its nuclear deterrence doctrine, which lowered the threshold for a nuclear response. The Kremlin was very clear that the doctrine changes were a signal to the West. While the doctrine serves as a signal to decision makers and national security apparatuses, the missile strike is aimed at the general public, says Matej Tandrik, the executive director at the Adapt Institute. Russia has deployed nuclear-capable missiles in Ukraine before, but Oreshnik features, like its MRV multiple reentry vehicle capability, invoke the scary apocalyptic image of nuclear war and therefore allow our imaginations to do a lot of the work for Putin. Yep, yep, right there. Not word for word, but again, what I said about the imagination. Jenny Mathers, senior lecturer in international politics at Aberystwyth, yeah, I didn't pronounce that right, but Aberystwyth University told the Kiev Independent. Russia has been employing covert or overt nuclear threats to deter international support for Ukraine since day one of the full-scale invasion. The Kremlin's red lines failed to influence the West from supplying tanks, fighter jets, and long-range missiles. Putin is now attempting to demonstrate strength after U.S. and British missiles struck targets on Russian sovereign territory. Putin's problem is that he is running out of ways to convey this message. Given all the times that he and other senior Russian officials have warned against certain courses of action, and hinted at dire consequences, but then confined their escalation of the war to increasingly brutal attacks on Ukraine's civilian population and infrastructure, Mathers said. According to Kandrik, Putin's ideal outcome would be a prohibition on the use of U.S. provided deep strike weapons within its territory and restrictions on future deliveries of such systems. Mathers also sees it as an attempt to deter broader Western support for Ukraine. Western officials denounced the IRBM launch as an escalation, but also made clear that it would not deter their support for Ukraine. Deploying this capability will neither change the course of the conflict nor deter NATO allies from supporting Ukraine, NATO spokesperson Farah Daklala said. The calculus may change after U.S. President-elect Donald Trump takes office in January, as his team is likely to seek a quick settlement to get out of the conflict. It remains unclear whether the incoming president, who has often criticized military aid for Ukraine, will keep the long-range strikes policy in place if it could spark further escalatory moves by Russia. My response to this is I already hear news that international intelligence agencies, members of the Five Eyes, for anyone who is familiar uh, with some of that terminology related to various different international intelligence gathering bodies, uh, close allies of the US are talking about not entirely sharing information with the US anymore. Uh, really, without wanting to say the quiet part out loud, which is because of the election of Donald Trump, who scares and disappoints is too light of a word, deeply disturbs many American allies. The fact that he has won the presidency twice now. The first time, I think many democracies around the world kind of can look at that and say, okay, that's a problem, but it's something that happens historically with democracies. But then when it happened the second time, that's where things are a bit more problematic. And if Tulsi Gabbard ends up being head of the national head of intelligence gathering of intelligence services within the United States, then that will not instill confidence in the Brits, in Australia, in various European partners to always be as open as they have been. Now, again, could be wrong. It's possible that maybe some countries are simply trying to say this in order to, you know, catch the Trump administration's attention. But at the end of the day, they might still align with the United States because the U.S. is a large country uh, to collaborate with, regardless of who's in the White House. But I don't think so. I mean, I really do think that that's just one example. My point being that as far as the future with this incoming administration, um, Europeans and other allies of Ukraine, other NATO members, even though it's going to be hard, this is going to end up if if Donald Trump does really start putting the United States on the path of isolationism again, this is the time when European powers and other allies really need to invest in their domestic defense and their mutual defense of one another and assistance to Ukraine. Because this isn't going to get better. Russia is going to keep looking for fights. And today it's Ukraine. Tomorrow, I predict it'll likely be something involving Republic of Georgia, unless they fully install a compliant one-party regime and get everything resolved there the way they want with a puppet government, similar to Belarus. And then after that, there's nowhere else to go really other than west. So some other country west of Ukraine or north, counting the Nordics. So all that to say, Europeans listening, please, please, please talk to your government officials. Many Americans have called and talked to and protested and continue to fight for Ukraine and for continued U.S. strong involvement in NATO, and will continue to do so. Canadians as well. It's time for Europe to rouse itself as a sleeping giant. It's time for Europe to take its defense into its own hands, and in doing so, win respect from defense policymakers in the United States, and long term, after this incoming administration has left, we will then have a military alliance unlike anything the world has ever seen. We need to see the United States be involved, but we also need to see Europe be capable of standing against the monstrous, villainous behemoth that is Moscovia. Anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox now. Let's continue. Putin knows that the clock is ticking for both Russia and Ukraine as we get closer to January 20th and Donald Trump's return to the U.S. presidency, Mathers said. Therefore, what Putin needs is to convey the impression that Russia is in a commanding position and can continue to fight for as long as it needs to in order to achieve victory. Experts say, however, that Oreshnik's launch is not the start of an escalation chain leading to a nuclear apocalypse. Let's keep a cool head. We have a mechanism in place. It's called an escalation ladder, with a lot of steps to go through between nuclear saber rattling or nuclear messaging, which is what's happening now, and the nuclear first use of preemptive strike. Matthew Boleg, a senior fellow at the CEPA think tank, told the Kiev Independent. The Russian leadership is not suicidal. The moment they start going a bit too far in nuclear escalation, this will be the end for the Russian regime. Federico Borsari, a resident fellow at CEPA, pointed out that Russia warned the U.S. about the missiles' use in advance, and that Iskander and Kinzhal missiles that Russia regularly uses in Ukraine can carry a nuclear warhead as well. Oreshnik's use is clearly a political message, but not one indicating a nuclear escalation, he concludes. All right. So that's the gist of the news on the missile, if you've heard about it over the last few days. All right, let's take a look at chat. Welcome, everyone. Anna, M35 Benvids. It wasn't me. Mitch Ashdown. Amonsky Amarski. Robert Jonasar. Mark Sangamon. Who else? Vasile Terente. Hey, and I really like that. I like all the Ukraine flags, the European Union flag, and the four-leaf clover, which I don't know if that was just random as a good luck positive thing, or if that's kind of supposed to be including Ireland. But yeah, welcome. Glad to have you here, Vasile. JP, KNKSGG, Michael Michaels. I don't think I missed anyone else, but if I did, my apologies. All right. Cheryl. Oh, Cheryl Watley. Good to see you. Let's see if we have any questions. I see a question here. Are you worried? Let me highlight it in the chat. Are you worried about the effect of HR 9495 Stop Terror Funding Bill against NGOs on our ability to fund Ukraine privately? Representative Natcom labeling Ukraine a quote aggressive adversary. Uh, Many organizations are worried about this prospective bill, which very well may end up getting passed, especially because several Democrats are actually voting in favor of it. If it were any other, well, first of all, it's a problem no matter the administration. But the executive branch in the United States already has a lot of power that it can use. But the fact that any NGO can more easily be labeled as a terrorist or extremist organization. I mean, there are groups that are worried about this for domestic reasons in the US, whether it be, for anyone who's unfamiliar, there is a new bill that is meant to make it easier for the president and the executive branch, his inner circle, to pick out whatever nonprofit or non governmental organization they want within the United States, label it as a quote unquote terrorist organization or an organization funding terror abroad. Uh, but I mean, it's not just abroad. I mean, it could technically be domestic, is what many people are afraid of. So whether it be women's reproductive rights, or it be organizations that are helping Ukraine, or organizations on the topic of immigration for specifically undocumented immigrants in the United States and their human rights. There's a lot of groups on a lot of topics uh, who are worried about the effect of this bill, what it could mean, and how it would be used by a man like Donald Trump. Um, yeah, no, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I have concerns about it. Here's the real question, though. Here's the real question. Let me say this about this bill. It is designed to functionally prevent influential organizations from carrying out their work, and it's at the stroke of a pen, at the whim, for the most part, to my understanding at least, of the president and maybe a few other cabinet members. So, with that being said, I see it as an overreach, but more importantly, um, I don't want anyone to. I don't know what the powers are, how they would treat anyone who's part of that organization if we're labeled as such and shut down. But the United States, for anyone who's unaware, typically typically has reserved the label of quote unquote terrorist for those who are non citizens, for foreign adversaries who use terror in what they do to try to achieve their goals. Groups like the Taliban or ISIS. And if you're a member of such a group or you closely assist such a group, and then, there's been very controversial extrajudicial facilities, Guantanamo being one example, where people are often taken and interrogated and held at such locations. Um, I mean, some people want to make it a doomsday scenario. I don't think it's going to be something like that. Target, whoever you want domestically in the U.S. and treat them like that. Like if you're a Ukraine supporter, I don't think you're gonna have to worry about someone banging on your door and saying, you're funding things we don't want to, come with us, or anything like that. I think it's purely a political stunt, a political act. Um, but it's still worrying. It's still worrying that entire organizations could be shut down, and we don't know exactly how it's going to be used. So, very good question, Cheryl. Um, Only time will tell. We'll see how things unfold. But I will say this: if too much of that occurs, and it's very obvious and it's publicized, it's not going to stand. Because for anyone who's American and remembers a few months ago when LULAC, which is a Latino civil rights organization for Latino U.S. citizens, had multiple members' houses, or I think it was multiple, but there were members' houses raided uh, when there wasn't really a recourse or a reason for it. It was just an intimidation tactic in the U.S. state of Texas. That was all over, uh, you know, that was all over the news. A lot of people were talking about it, and it was a big problem. And LULAC is still responding. Um, yeah, I like imagine that, but on steroids because it's happening with other organizations. It'll end up blowing up. It would end up blowing up, I think, in Donald Trump's face, but we shall see. And so far, there's been no direct messaging about using such tactics against pro-Ukraine organizations. So I don't think there's no indication that any Ukrainian organizations would be affected by this. Again, it's just a lot of uncertainty, unknowns, and fear. So only time will tell. Anyway, thank you for a good question. I hope I didn't ramble too much on that. KNKSGG, I can't believe that 15 Dems voted for it. I mean, yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Hope of the filibuster in the Senate, that's it. Yep. That guy. Do you think Trump, excuse me, may try and cancel the nuclear subdeal with Australia? Uh, I mean, well, remember that the last time that there was a nuclear subdeal, the deal with Australia was made after canceling a deal with France, if I'm remembering correctly. So, I mean, unless something happens last minute like that, I don't see it happening. To the best of my knowledge, I don't see Australia and the US right now being on a collision course for being on bad terms. I think that quietly behind the scenes, many nations, Australia included, be uh, might be evaluating how closely they want to work with the United States in the future on certain things. Like, for example, if the US decided to suddenly ask, hey, who wants to go fight another war and do NATO or other defensive alliance activations and contribute troops to, yeah, I don't know, operations in Iraq or Afghanistan or some other country that the U.S. for one reason or another might want to get involved in the future. They may double back, and there might not be as much support for that in the future. We'll see. But and the intelligence gathering thing that I mentioned before. But as far as trade, as far as nuclear submarine deals, the U.S. still wants to make money. The U.S. wants to sell at very high prices, not at a discount, not at a market rate, not barely breaking even. The U.S. wants to make a profit off of sales of weapons to others. The U.S. just right now is heading toward a more isolationist policy in terms of involvement in conflicts, and instead being prepared for uh, anticipated issues like Taiwan in the future, domestic security issues, um, and supporting other key allies like Japan or South Korea. Because I do think that regardless of whether it's Republican or Democrat as far as foreign policy for the military goes, Asia is still a huge focus. Countering China is still a big focus for both, a bipartisan focus for the U.S. military and government. Anyway, thanks for the question. All right. All right. Let's keep going. Next article. Oh, shoot. Yeah, because we are running late. I actually only have a few minutes left because, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I have been drowning in things I've needed to do, which is part of the reason that I really do want to put a team together for this channel. So again, hello, yeah. Oh, Cheryl, I'm aware. Oh, I'm eating my mic. I don't have any control over it. My microphone isn't working as expected, so I'm literally just having to sit right in front of my laptop for the microphone to pick it up. I'm gonna get it fixed for the next stream. I'll have to go get a new headset and maybe make sure I have my boom mic set up next time as well. I haven't had a need for it here recently, so I've just been using my microphone on my headset. But my headset just went out, so that's why the audio on this video may not be optimal. Sorry, everybody. We'll get that fixed. In any case, next article, because I do need to get going here soon. Ukraine is being hit with a surge of attacks using North Korean missiles. Western components help make it possible, from CNN. Was I leaning away from it for a moment? I'm just kind of hunched over the computer right now so that it's able to pick up my voice properly. Will I be on the shows later? Today, I wanted to be, but I don't think I'll be able to. I have another appointment that I have to make, multiple appointments actually. So I'll be on the shows next week, but probably not this week. I'm gonna message Dick and everyone to let them know. All right. House of Horrors investigators discover what's inside North Korean missile after deadly strike. Ukraine has been hit by a surge in Russian ballistic missile attacks, about a third of which used North Korean weapons that can only fly because they run on Western circuitry, obtained despite sanctions, according to Ukrainian military officials. Russia has fired about 60 North Korean KN-23 missiles at Ukraine this year, according to a Ukrainian defense official. That accounts for nearly 1 in 3 of the 194 ballistic missiles fired so far in 2024, a CNN tally of attacks publicly acknowledged by Ukraine's Air Force shows. August and September saw a spike in ballistic missile attacks. When Ukraine first publicly detailed the use of the KN-23, we see that since the spring, Russia has been using ballistic missiles and attack drones much more to strike Ukraine, and less use of cruise missiles. The acting head of communications of the Ukrainian Air Force, Yuri Ignat, told CNN, these less sophisticated missiles are part of North Korea's growing support to Moscow, which also includes about 11,000 North Korean soldiers deployed to Russia's Kursk region. As the expanding role of the North Korean missiles becomes clear, Ukrainian officials have given CNN rare access to fragments from the wreckage of the weapons, which show the apparent extent of US and European made or designed circuitry in their guidance systems. First of all, let me just say this really quick. This is not surprising in the slightest, because I want to remind you of both countries who are actively involved in this war and fighting against Ukrainian troops. Moscovia, the fake federation, and North Korea, the black market dealing, human rights abusing hermit kingdom of the Korean Peninsula. If there are, I mean, there are others who also are very skillful in this, but if there are any two countries in the world with decades of experience in bypassing sanctions and using criminal activity to fund their regimes, they would be Russia and North Korea. Any form of corruption, any form of theft, any form of getting their hands illegitimately or otherwise from the US and other Western countries to create the weapons that they're using, Russia and North Korea will be knowledgeable in ways to do that. So yeah, again, sanctions do have an effect and they are important, but they aren't the end all be all. At the end of the day, you can't tighten down every single possible passage out of the country, and you can't prevent Russia and North Korea from finding, back alley deals with other BRICS countries or neutral, well, third party countries that aren't associated with, NATO or the EU or BRICS, um, or even directly through corruption with NATO and EU countries. Um, Unfortunately, it's just the way the world works. You know, greed is a big part of it. Um, but hopefully that will improve in the years to come. Crucial components used in the North Korean missiles are produced by 9 Western manufacturers, including companies based in the United States, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom, according to a recent report by Ukraine's Independent Anti-Corruption Commission, NACO, a civil society organization. Some parts of the KN-23-24 missiles they analyzed were produced as recently as 2023. I think I already put this in the chat, but in case I didn't, here's the link. CNN was shown around one warehouse where Ukrainian government investigators combed through the debris searching for small details that offer clues about the production of these deadly weapons. The warehouse was full of damaged drones and burned missile parts. In different buildings, hundreds of microchips were carefully separated into folders named for various weapons used by Russia, Shahed, Iskander, and KN-23. It's a somber sight as investigators are keenly aware the components were salvaged from the rubble of buildings where lives were lost. Strikes using North Korean missiles have killed at least 28 people and injured 213 this year, the Ukrainian prosecutor general told CNN. Yeah, let's move on to the next article because I am pressed for time, but feel free to read the rest of this. And it's a very sad situation. But we're going to end on a happier note. First, hold on. We're going to end on two more positive notes before I have to run, because I do have to run very soon, which I hate, but it is a fact. All right. White House sees no indication of Russia preparing to use nuclear weapons in Ukraine. The Biden administration has not seen any indications of Russia preparing to use a nuclear weapon in Ukraine, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said on November 21st. Speaking at a press briefing, Jean-Pierre also said the administration was not surprised by Russia's announcement that it would update its nuclear doctrine, and they believed it was irresponsible rhetoric. Russian President Vladimir Putin approved the country's new nuclear doctrine on November 19th. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said the changes should be seen as a certain signal to the West. This is more of the same irresponsible rhetoric that we continue to hear from Russia, which we have seen for more than 2 years now. If you think about their aggression, their war against Ukraine, Jean-Pierre said. We haven't seen any indications of Russia preparing to use a nuclear weapon in Ukraine. We just have not seen that. And observing no changes to Russia's nuclear posture, we have not seen any reason to adjust our own nuclear posture or doctrine in response to Russia's statements. Deputy Pentagon Press Secretary Sabrina Singh on November 20th also discussed Russia's rhetoric surrounding its nuclear policy as a continuation of its behavior over the past 2 years. Since the start of its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, Russia has made a series of nuclear threats against Ukraine and the West, none of which have materialized. So, kind of just reiterating what was already partially said in the other piece, the United States is also in agreement. It's just Russia trying to spread more fear, but it doesn't really indicate that they're immediately preparing to do a nuclear strike anywhere. So, hold on. Check this last article. All right, and 4,000 hryvnia donation. Thank you very much. And I don't know if that was over PayPal or if that was directly through Monobank, but thank you very much for making that donation. Since I have to go soon, I'm going to make mine right now. So whoever made that, thank you for reminding me. I'm going to do my donation right quick over PayPal. 1 second. Oh, wait, unless it still has an issue on my end. Let's see. I remember last time I was having an issue with my device, but let's see, let's see. Okay, and come on, come on, come on. Yeah, great. I'll have to do it from my computer. I really don't know what's up with, I swear, multiple things, whether it's like Wise or PayPal or other payment methods. I've been running into an issue with my multiple different digital payment services, and it's been very annoying to say the least. Okay, well, I am still going to make a donation. I'll just have to do it, log into my PayPal and all that from my computer. But thank you very much for donating. It's really appreciated. All right, now, last piece of news. Delayed by war, Ukraine's one last positive piece of news for anyone who enjoys gaming a bit and wants to support Ukraine. Actually, I've got a story on this. I pre-ordered a copy of this game because I love the Stalker series, and it's made in Ukraine. It's made by Ukrainians, and without going into a lot of detail, there's a particular company that some of the pre-orders were done through, including mine, which is not one that it wasn't the developer, it was a different company for distribution that I'm not very fond of for multiple reasons. And I tried to use my pre-order key the other day to play this game, and it said that it was already used by someone. So apparently, I don't know what's going on there. Apparently somebody else already somehow managed to steal my key and claim it for themselves. But yeah, very, very annoying. I'm waiting to get that resolved. So I can actually try this and enjoy it, and maybe even share a little bit of it with you guys on the channel if anyone's interested in that, just for lighthearted, pro-Ukrainian, highlighting of a pro-Ukrainian product in a fun way. Delayed by war, Ukraine's long-awaited Stalker 2 surges to the top of video game purchases. More than 2 years after Russia's full-scale invasion delayed its release and upended its developers' lives, Ukraine's Stalker 2, one of the most anticipated video games of the year, was released on November 20th. Employees of GSC Game World, the Ukrainian company behind its creation, completed the game while navigating blackouts, missile strikes, scattered employees, and the challenge of restarting operations from a new office in Prague. Originally set for a release in April 2022, the game experienced several delays when many of its staff were forced to flee Ukraine that February. Ahead of the release this week, pre-sales of the game took it to the top spot for games sold on the popular video game platform Steam. Like the 2007 original in the series, which has been played by millions, Stalker 2: Heart of Chernobyl is a first-person immersive shooter game set in a fictionalized version of Chernobyl's exclusion zone after an apocalyptic nuclear disaster. I also love that they changed the English spelling to reflect Ukrainian instead of Russian. Chernobyl. Chernobyl, not Chernobyl. The war affected more than just the timing of the game's release. After the full-scale invasion, the game's name was changed to use the Ukrainian spelling of Chernobyl. Oh yeah, they just covered it. Instead of the Russian version, Chernobyl. GSC Game World also removed Russian voiceovers and has refused to sell the game in Russia. The game developers have spoken about facing Russian threats and frequent hacking attempts because of their decisions. I switched to drawing on paper. In a documentary about the game's creation released in October, Anton Kutitsky, the game's lead concept artist, described his first weeks of the full-scale war. For 2 weeks, he had no electricity, internet, or connection outside his village. He had no idea if the rest of his family had survived. Sitting in that cellar with my wife and my cats, I felt like I was abandoned. But like a stalker, you have to learn how to live in such a situation, Kutitsky said. I switched to drawing on paper, so I didn't stop developing. After many of the staff relocated to Prague, they had to completely recast their voice actors since many had gone to fight, relocated, or fallen out of communication. Additionally, the staff had fled without their equipment and had to build a new motion capture and audio recording studio from scratch. According to the film. Wow. We'll finish out this article, and then we gotta finish the stream, unfortunately. But let's see. Stalker 2, released on November 20th, is set in a fictionalized exclusion zone of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. A significant portion of the staff still remains in Ukraine. Because of the developers' vocal support for Ukrainian armed forces and the content of the game, a Russian official suggested this month that purchases of the game in Russia could be criminalized after its release. While GSC Game World products are not officially available in Russia, users have reported workarounds online. They have a disclaimer on their website saying they even put this in there. If you are a citizen of the Russian Federation or Belarus, and also a fan of our games, be aware that purchase of Stalker 2 could be considered a criminal act in your country if you are located within territory of both governments. So they've been aware of this for a while. Yeah, they warned people. They warned anyone who, in general, is a fan of the game or who is a supporter of Ukraine that even just purchase of it could be a problem. Oh, JP had to drop off. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you being here. Mercado Media was playing it. Yeah, awesome. Have I seen the documentary? I have not seen it yet. I've been wanting to see it. I've someone sent me a link of where I can purchase or otherwise watch it. Because I'm interested. Uh, Prior to the full-scale invasion, Ukraine was home to hundreds of video game companies and estimated tens of thousands of Ukrainian video game developers. GSC Game World was founded in Kiev in 1995 and is one of the oldest and most prominent video game developers in the country. In addition to Stalker, the company is known for its Cossack strategy game franchise. Since 2020, the company is co-owned by Maxim Gripa, a wealthy Ukrainian businessman who has kept a low profile and mostly avoided public attention. Gripa's career is reportedly connected with casinos and gambling businesses. Makes sense. A lot of money there. Though GSC Game World distanced itself from his former activities, stating his portfolio no longer holds gambling companies. In the past several years, Gripa has built up significant stakes in online gaming and real estate, including the 2018 purchase of Ukraine's major esports league Navi and a subsequent deal to become co-owner of Maincast, an esports broadcasting studio. He made headlines recently with real estate purchases of the Parus Business Center in Kiev last year, which Forbes Ukraine dubbed the largest deal since the start of the full-scale war, and purchases of major hotels in downtown Kiev. Glowing letters advertising Stalker 2 topped the Parus Business Center ahead of the game's release. Stalker 2 is available on Xbox and PC. All right. Documentary, not miniseries. Dylan Bird said he will play it next week. Oh, that's awesome. I might tune into that. Dylan's an awesome guy. That's cool. I got 20 euros off. It's a very good seller, and it's official. Oh yeah, I know my laptop mic it's not the best right now. Sorry everybody. We will have that fixed next time we stream. All right. Any more questions? Let me check. We have two. Sec guy, yep, Australia. You are very good at reading aloud. Thank you, Michael Michaels. I tried to do my best even when my equipment is not working how it should. All right. Oh, you did send it on Discord. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Okay, I will be sure to watch that. Thank you very, very much for sending that. I just saw it. Okay, perfect. All right, well, thank you for being here, everyone. Thank you, everyone who donated. I gotta go take care of my thing, and then get back to my computer so I can get my PayPal to work because every mm, yeah, I'm because everything just wants to not work, whether it be Buy Me a Coffee or PayPal or Wise or multiple other platforms for me this month. Well, Buy Me a Coffee, I haven't been using it all out of principle, and we're going to evaluate that again in the future. But you get my point. It's been frustrating. All right. Thanks for being here, everyone. Continue to support Ukraine. We will have another stream right here next week, as per usual. And Slava Ukraini. All right. See you all again soon.